Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. It's Wandavision talk time. It's already up to episode 7. This one's called Breaking the Fourth Wall. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Snooper's gonna snoop. This is Prague.
Hey, and I burned over 600 calories while I watched this show today. This is DeLorean Wolfgang.
Oh, that sounds like a Peloton of fun.
That was a Peloton of fun. I like that pun. That was a ton of fun right there.
Yeah, that was something. It was a mouthful.
Well, actually, I actually set up the phone to where I could watch it while I was writing, and it was. I got to tell you, and I hope someone at Peloton is listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
There was parts of this show that got my blood just pumping, and I was like, wow, I'm like really feeling the scene right now. And I started really rocking the Peloton.
So wait, you can't watch TV on the Peloton? Don't they have a screen attached to it?
They do, but it's not like you can hook it up. Well, I mean, you probably could hook it up to your...
That would be a great idea, Peloton. You can watch your Wandavision while you're biking.
Yeah, you gotta connect all the different apps, your Disney Plus and your Netflix. Come on.
Well, but I really like
Paramount Plus.
I like all of my stuff, like all of my like cadence and my resistance and stuff. But dude, I will say, and we'll get into this when we get into non-spoilers. But like, wow, there was non-spoilers. No, when we get into spoilers. But yeah, there's been points where I was like, I think Peloton really needs to think about doing something with Marvel because, wow, dude, I thought I was just going to take an easy little stroll on my bike, and then certain scenes would happen, and I was like, oh, yeah!
Quicksilver in it.
Do that again? Quicksilvering it, yes. That's actually a really good idea. They can play like the Marvel theme song, that bombastic theme song that they have at the beginning of every show or movie, and then you can like pick whatever character you want to be and like be in some like scene, and yeah, it'd be fun. That's a great idea.
I mean, because they do certain things. Like, for instance, when The Last Dance came out with Michael Jordan, they did a whole thing with that. Like they had one ride of just that. If they did a one ride of Marvel, where they took a lot of the action scenes, and then whenever you need to rest, they have like a little rest scene where there's a little dialogue. Then they go back into action scenes. Dude, nice. I would
this idea
there.
All right, our new sponsor, hopefully in the future. We'll see.
Sponsored by Peloton.
That's our ideas here at the Secondary Heroes. So, what's going on with this episode, guys? Breaking the fourth wall today.
Breaking the fourth wall. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start? Actually, I went last time. So, I actually liked this one. It was fun. There was a bit of predictableness, kind of like my fun comment is very predictable.
Okay.
I will say it was better than the first 3 episodes, so yeah, but I liked it. I think there was parts of it that kind of made me go, not really into this, but the rest of it was fun. And we'll like we do, we'll get into it.
Okay, very nice. Trevor?
So for me, I really liked the 2010 sitcom ideas, and they were executed well, and there was little shout outs here and there, but I feel like they could have extracted this episode from the season and made it an 8-episode run, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. The 2 dramatic reveals that they had in this episode could have been sequenced into 8 or 6. It wasn't groundbreaking. It was pretty much I guess it's more, we've kind of built this show up on this podcast of, oh, look at all these red herrings, and did you see that thing in the background, and look at all these different, like, all these things, and it's the most super obvious thing that they're just pounding you over the head with. And so that was a little disappointing for me. But the episode itself, it was fun, but the season could live without this episode.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure. So I actually, I don't think this was the strongest of the episodes of the season. I think it was probably the funniest. Like there were some moments that I was like laugh out loud, genuinely funny. Mm-hmm. I do think, and we'll talk about this in the spoiler section, I do disagree with you a little bit there, Trevor, where I think that it was intentionally obvious. And I'll dive into why, because it's going to be too spoiler if I do it right now. But yeah, I think it was intentional, and I'll explain to that. But I don't know. I think it was good timing for where it was. I do agree that this could have been, I don't know. Yeah, it could have been stretched out a little bit more with things, and I don't know. Yeah, it definitely felt like a filler episode, but I had a lot of fun watching it, like what Alex said. So not the best, not the worst, but fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
That's a good summation.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, 5 minutes in, and guess what, people? We're hitting our socials. Hey, check us out over on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and God, how many times are you going to subscribe there, Prog? And YouTube.
I keep hitting the wrong button. I don't know. Secondary bleros.
You got to create those secondary accounts. Build our numbers up.
What? Who are these
But yeah,
guys?
so follow us on every social channel, all at Secondary Heroes. And make sure to go over to YouTube, or not YouTube, but yeah, go over to YouTube too. But go over to iTunes and rate and review our podcast, and give a 5-star rating, because honestly, that's always fun, and we like seeing those, and we like to read your reviews. Who knows? Maybe we'll read your review out loud. Probably not. But yeah, cool. So that's your socials.
Awesome. And then speaking of our socials, we also are doing something fun with our social medias. It's our 2-year anniversary, and so we had hard enamel pins made. And so there's 3 different variants. There's the hard enamel, the soft enamel, and then there's the chase version, which is all silver. And to get these, all you have to do is go into our Twitter account and all the details of how to acquire your own set of pins. But guess what? There's another way. We're doing a giveaway. You can get this whole set of pins, plus this secondary Mr. Monopoly. He has this cool second prize sachet on, all just by going on Twitter and doing some retweets and stuff. So again, at Secondary Heroes, there's no underscores or hyphens or dashes or any kind of stuff like that. Just at Secondary Heroes, all the details on the pins, the giveaway, and you got to support us, man. It's super fun for you guys. It's free too.
I can't believe this, man. We're doing giveaways, giving stuff away to our fans. It feels good, man.
Nice. Merchandising, it's great.
So, boys,
Finally.
is it time?
I think that means it's time for our spoiler section. So hopefully, everyone, if you haven't seen WandaVision, you're putting it off or whatever, this is the point. Spoiler time.
Who's been messing up everything? It's been Agatha all along. Who's been pulling every evil string? It's been Agatha all along. I told you I would screw it up. I knew I would screw it up.
That was great.
And you know what? I screwed up in so many different fashions and ways. But you know what? It's been a long time. It's been Agatha all along. That's what I was trying to do.
Nice.
Oh,
I mean, you're no Catherine Hahn, but it was not bad. Not bad.
Oh, dude, I can't believe I screwed that. We literally talked for how long about trying to pull that off, and I screwed it up in so many different ways, fashions, and forms. Anyway, so we are now in spoiler territory. Oh, and one real quick thing about that song.
Yes. Sure.
I want to give a shout out to our buddy Caleb out there. I believe it's Pez. What's his Twitter handle?
Pez Sunday on Twitter.
Pez Sunday on Twitter. The kid is great. He's always putting out new videos, but on one of his latest videos, he did put that song, and I hadn't seen the episode yet, so I was a little spoiled. But you know what? It's all good, because I mean, we all saw it happening. We all saw it coming,
You're supposed to
right?
start it at midnight and watch the show.
Oh, is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yes.
Yeah, 12:01 Thursday into Friday.
Son of a beasting. But yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Caleb, man. You're a good kid. I love your videos, and just don't use spoilery stuff.
No, please do. I did on Friday.
This episode was relative on the spoiler scene. Like, I know this is our spoiler portion, but it's tough to spoil stuff that we knew all along.
Well,
but whatever.
I told him. I said, you know what? Because of the podcast, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I kind of knew that it was Agatha all along.
Right. It's not like it was like Magneto all along or something. Then it would have been like, oh, what? Stop.
And she killed Sparky too.
Right.
Squeak, squeak, squeak. What?
All right. Let's dive into this episode. Let's dive into the 2010s here with some Modern Family.
Right. So this episode, I do want to piggyback something I didn't mention last week, because on the previously on, we start with the molecular idea. They go over that whole segment of, if you go into the hex again, it's going to change your molecules. Oh my God. But then they show Vision specifically. And in case you didn't know, he's made of vibranium, and he's breaking apart as he's trying to break out and say, help everybody in here. And they zoom in on a piece that flies off of him. They zoomed super like, hey, look at this piece actually just broke off of him of vibranium.
Right.
And so the one other material that's similar to vibranium that hasn't been in the MCU is antimantium, which if you're a Wolverine fan, you know that's a big deal, especially if we're building towards any X-Men kind of stuff. And so could it be that on a molecular level, we also change vibranium and introduce a new nearly indestructible material in the MCU?
It is very possible.
Oh my God. This is why I love this podcast. I love this stuff, baby. I love it. I never thought of that. Never thought. But I did think it was weird that they did, even in the, what is it? This time last week, they really focused on it heavily in that. That's where I was like, wow.
He even touches his shoulder. Like, where did that go? Yeah. When he wakes up. So, yeah, it's important, I think. And I think Trevor might be onto something here. I like it.
So, we'll see.
Nod.
But now for this episode, Wanda wakes up and the bed is empty. And speaking of Vision, he's not in the bed. So every single time, like this season, they've always been together in the first opening sequence. And Vision's not actually there. And so now we get this whole Modern Family intro where Wanda is doing the single cam footage and she does her little interviews in between to kind of describe what's going on. And she says, it's not like I was intentionally expanding the border of the false world we created. And it was weird that she said we.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say I created. She specifically said we created.
Yep. That's kind of weird. Especially if she was under a hex or a spell. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, especially what we find out at the end of this episode. It seems unaware of what Agatha's doing. Yeah.
Right. Or she knew that there was a puppeteer, but just kind of ignored it anyways. But like, just kind of went along with it. Like, I know there's somebody else out there with me, but I'm just going to pretend like doesn't matter because I like this little false reality I'm creating for myself. That's a possibility.
Well, and it almost seems like she's still a little clueless in a way, a little bit about it. Because even in the last episode when she was talking to Pietro, she was saying, I don't know. I don't know how I did this.
And I think she's telling the truth. I don't think she knows how it necessarily started. You know,
it felt genuine when she said it in that last episode. So that's what makes me think, okay, yeah, she obviously had help with all this, and yeah, we find out.
And I think a part of her knows that, but is just kind of trying to hide it from herself, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, this episode is definitely all about her breaking down.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything. So with that, the one kind of, so we have the Modern Family interview style, but there's also the sound effects with the drum they do, and then they did the clips to kind of extrapolate backstory. They did all those little classic Modern Family things. But one weird thing she did is she said, today I'm going to start a quarantine-style staycation. And that doesn't mean anything without the context of what we've experienced in reality for the past year. So it's kind of out of place in the show within itself. Like, it's a funny joke to the audience, but within the show, it doesn't mean anything in the MCU. They didn't go through a COVID-19 quarantine at any point in the MCU.
Right.
Yeah,
it was awkward to me.
It was awkward. Okay. I looked at it like, oh, that's kind of like a little wink and a nod. Like, hey, we know you're all out there. Wink.
Yeah. I think so, because I'm pretty sure like that this is where we're at now in filming, where they probably started filming after during quarantine. I know a lot of it was done beforehand. I'm sure this was done after, and they're like, oh, because you look at her hair looks a lot different than before, a lot more orange.
Okay.
In this episode, so I'm sure there was a big time jump.
Total wig, right?
I'm not too sure it was a wig or she colored it differently or something happened, but it was not what she had before.
It looks,
I'll put it that way,
like a really awful wig. Like
I'm sure they probably put a wig on her to make her look like that, to have her, that
way. I watched this episode twice. I did watch it on like a big screen, and I watched it on my phone, and both times I watched it, her wig just bothered me because it looked so wig-ish. I don't know. I couldn't get. Yeah.
Maybe she's wigging out.
There's
all kinds of wigging out because this goes into the controllers now. So the kids are playing downstairs, and their controllers are glitching through time essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what do they glitch back to?
They go to Atari. I know that they go to Atari and then they go to Uno cards. But what happened?
Which is very important that they're playing Uno.
Really?
Scene that happens later this episode. Yes. They could have picked anything.
Like glued together as well. I hate
it.
Well,
yeah, of course. I don't want those kids to drop them, right? Kid actors. They don't want them to be like, let me take
Don't drop the Uno cards. We only have 500 others in the pack.
Right? No, so this is important because it's a nod to Captain Marvel. So in Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau plays Uno with her Skrull friend on the steps at the end. It's like this big thing where they're bonding together and playing Uno. They could have picked anything for those kids to be playing that was non-video game based, and they picked Uno. And I think that is for a reason.
This was heavy in the Captain Marvel stuff. At least I felt like it was pretty heavy in Captain Marvel this episode.
It is very, very heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's going through self-punishment. She says, I'm going to give myself self-punishment by staying home and as the things are glitching out. And so she goes and gets milk. And she takes almond milk out of the fridge. And then it becomes 1950s milk. And she smells it. So I understand, but I'm not drinking milk if it just changed. Like if I wanted almond
not
milk
either.
And it changed to 1950s milk, there's no way that's not expired.
I don't think she cared. She looked at it, she smells like she just okay, that would not be me. But
I do have a little bit of a funny story with milk that just recently happened. So I have a refrigerator out here in my garage, and whenever I go out grocery shopping, sometimes I buy extra milk and stuff if I'm drinking a lot. So I left one in the outside garage. Well, it was in the back, and I forgot about it. And let's just say I was cleaning things out of the garage this weekend, and I found it. Did you guys know that milk turns clear and like a milky green?
I know the clear part. I didn't know the green part. That's gross.
Here's the fun part. I looked at the expiration date. The expiration date, July of 2020.
Oh.
So it's almost nice 8 months old. Yeah.
So it makes sense for her to sniff the 50s.
Yeah, it was funny. She just goes ahead with it though.
Now, and then another quick thing. There was a missing persons on that. Did you guys see who it was? I couldn't see who it was.
No, I paused on the picture. I think it was just a generic picture meant to remind her of her son who's going to go missing in the future of this episode, is my guess. Maybe like a foreshadowing kind of a thing. Or it could be the missing children in town. Who knows? I mean, it's probably something, but I don't think the kid is a specific kid on the carton. Okay. I think it's just meant to be there as something else. One thing to note too is this whole scene is like her having her magic hangover. Like she spent so much of her magical energy that she is hungover today. That's why she looks like this. This is why she's like shuffling around the kitchen and like waking up in her leotard and everything. Yeah, it kind of tells you a lot about her magic and how it does exhaust her to use it.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I didn't look at it that way. I just thought, they're just pulling a Modern Family thing where the mom's like, I'm tired today, whatever, I'm gonna
it definitely worked for it though. But yeah, I think it's because she had really spent a lot of energy moving that hex.
I like that.
That's gonna become important. I think that's becoming very important for later when we talk about what happens with Agnes and eating power. Yeah.
And so now we get to the intro, and they use a version of The Office music, which is really fun to hear. And in this, everything is Wanda. So the calendar says Wanda. The side of the buildings are Wanda. Everything's Wanda in this entire intro.
Wanda. That was hilarious.
Well, okay. I found that funny was that it was very, very The Office, but they went with a Modern Family style. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny.
The Office and Modern Family are shot the same way. One just
mockumentaries.
The mockumentary style, sure. Yeah.
And it's interesting, though, just because you focus on Modern Family because it's an ABC show and it's a Disney property, and Office is an NBC Universal property.
Yeah.
So we'll just do a slight shout out to that, but we'll do all encompassing of Modern Family.
Right. Yet everyone made the Jim face this episode. Like every character made it. Well, Jim from The Office face, which is pretty funny.
Except for actual Jim.
Except for Woo, yeah, that's true.
Except for Woo. Woo didn't do it.
He's a Skrull. Maybe no. So there is a scene. I did pause between the different Wandas just to see what they're playing at, and one of them said, "We know what you're doing, Wanda." But it was done in the way like the Joker does for like kidnapping letters and stuff. Like he took post-its out of like newspaper clippings for different letters. I thought that was kind of weird. Like, who knows what you're doing? Is it the outside world? Is it somebody else on the inside?
Huh.
That was creepy. I like that little nod.
Yeah, that was a creepy one.
Well, and at the very end of it, they push Vision's name in, and Vision.
Oh, there he is. That's right. We almost
Very,
forgot.
very end of it. So, like you were saying, Trevor, how they were just like probably like 600 times of Wanda everywhere. Then they go, and Vision.
Yep.
And so then we get to the point where we go back outside the hex and we check in on everybody out there. And so they say there's dead air on the broadcast, but we're literally watching the broadcast.
Right?
I mean, there wasn't even an intro. This wasn't just looking at Wanda in the hex. There was a specific camera shot broadcast. So why isn't there a broadcast?
I will tell. Well, I don't know why there isn't a broadcast, but I think what they're doing now is literally breaking the fourth wall. They are now broadcasting just for us at home. We are now meta at this point. That's what I think is happening. They've pushed beyond the boundary of the MCU, and now they are reaching into our own living rooms.
The quarantine joke makes more sense within that context.
Sorry, you both talk. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I was confused at first too. I'm like, okay, who is controlling this? And I realized, oh, that's right. The episode is called Breaking the Fourth Wall. That would make sense that they're now winking and nodding specifically to us at home, not just the viewers inside the MCU they're seeing in their homes watching the show or whatever. So it's getting meta.
That makes sense because the name itself, nothing they did in this episode was actually breaking the fourth wall. It was all just, it wasn't Deadpool, WandaVision being aware that it's just, they never got that far of breaking the fourth wall in the traditional sense. But if you take the episode extracted as a whole, that actually does lend credence to the title.
Right, because before we found out that Wanda was controlling her reality, so it was confined to the MCU. But now that we find out there might be somebody else controlling things, it's outside of that. It encompasses kind of everything. And in this episode is the first time that I've seen in any episode actual brand name stuff in the episode. Like in her fridge, there was actual brand names I recognized. I was like, what? That's new. That's different. That's from our reality, not the MCU. It's not like MCU Cola or whatever, or Avengers Suds. I don't know.
Market Avengers Suds. That's what we're going with.
First thing came to mind, I'm like, all right, let's continue on. So what does Hayward do? What is he doing here? Looking at the hex?
I don't know. I didn't care. I guess it was so boring I didn't even take notes.
No,
I transitioned to Vision. So.
The first time I watched this scene, I didn't really care much. I'm like, Hayward, I can't stand this guy. This is boring. The second time, though, I actually decided to pay attention this time. And I noticed that because I was watching it on a bigger screen. I think the first time I was watching it on my phone, too, while I was working. Don't tell anybody I do that. But if you look at the woman who is like his right-hand man in that scene, who's talking to him, saying like, yes, sir, her eyes do something really weird. And I think what they did in editing is they did it backwards, where she looks at him and looks back to whatever the hex, I guess. It's edited weird. It's not like a real look over. It's like they did it in reverse. So I'm wondering if maybe she's a Skrull, possibly. Just because
so is everything going to be Skrull in this episode, Prague? Like, are we just putting that on? Okay.
No, I'm not even joking. I think there's a lot of Skrull in this episode that we're not realizing, and that's the first one of possible many. Yeah.
Because I mean, love it.
Monica has a lot to do with the Skrulls and that kind of stuff.
For sure.
Just in the MCU, but also in the comics. So it makes sense for there to be some Skrulls in this. And she was just kind of creepy the way she was just standing there waiting for him and looking at him side-eyed. And he kept saying, ready to launch. And you kind of wonder, is it nukes? Is it his own device? What are we launching into this thing? Hopefully not nukes. That'd be crazy. I don't know. All right.
Will we see Hayward again?
No, I don't think so. Not in this
No,
episode.
That's what I thought.
So.
Yeah, okay.
That was it.
So, okay.
That's why
now
I was like, all right, I'll watch it.
So now Vision wakes up in the circus, and Darcy's there. She's chained up to like a car or whatever, and he says, "Darcy, we locked eyes. You remember me, right?" And she just passes it off. She even goes into the interview sequence, passing it off of this whole thing that Vision's doing. It was a pretty good sequence. Like, this was classic, like, Modern Family, where it's these scenes that play out completely, and then they go back and they somehow rewatch it to talk about it, and it's like totally absurd. They do that a lot with Vision and Darcy in this whole episode.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Like he was hitting on her or something. Like,
Yeah.
not gonna do it.
So that's the weird thing is these were the scenes. Any point with Darcy and him were annoying to me. I didn't like any of them.
What?
I thought Vision was hilarious, and actually Paul Bettany's just been amazing, but Vision was excellent in this episode.
Paul
I
Bettany
just don't. I mean, he really was. He really was. But I don't know.
Do you not like Darcy? I know that a lot of people.
No, I do
Darcy.
like.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just there was something about it that just didn't really. I don't know. I know that they were trying to go for the whole Modern Family thing. I think maybe it was the circus that kind of was like annoying to me because the entire time you're watching that, you've got a lot of bing bonk bonk bing bonk, like a bunch of like clown noises constantly being piped into your ears the entire time you're watching that part. And it was so annoying and I hated that.
I thought that was hilarious personally.
Like I could barely focus on what they're saying because I keep hearing all these bing bonking noises. I'm thinking
think that might be kind of intentional for Vision to like distract him, is my guess, because we're trying to keep him there. We don't want him to go back to Wanda. Not we, but the other characters.
Right. Yeah. And I don't like that it took so long for him to touch her head to snap her out of it. I think I feel like he like. I guess so, but it was a big miss for me. Maybe not to you guys, but for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
We can't agree on everything, guys.
Right. And so Vision is super funny in this sequence, and then we go back to Wanda, and she says one of the twins says something along the lines of Pietro said this or something, and she says, "Don't believe anything that man said. He's not your uncle." So Wanda's already like passed him off as pretty much dead to her.
I think that's why she blew him across the the room or the square last episode. She's like, "Oh, you're definitely not my brother. Get out of here." So yeah, she knows that's why he wasn't at home that day with them. So the gig is up for her with that one. So anyway.
Well, and I actually during that whole scene, I was like, well, okay, if she blew in the last episode, she blew him away into whatever the boxes or the wall or whatever. Whenever I was watching this show, I was thinking, okay, is he gonna be like pining to get back in the whole time? Like, how is he gonna try and get back into her good graces in a way? Right. Oh, you never got any of that, which is okay, but I don't know. A little piece of me was like, man, they just shot him out and then he was done.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, he probably got the most he could, and that was it. He was like, all right, did what I could. Got the information I guess we could use for later.
It's not like your dead husband can die twice.
Mm-hmm. What a jerk.
And so Wanda has some good lines all in this sequence. She says, "I don't have answers. Maybe it's all meaningless," which that's cool. Somebody who's controlling a whole reality says something like that. And then she follows it up with the kids were complaining or whatever. And she's like, their dad's made of vibranium. So they literally inherited tough skin.
Yeah. One of the best such a good line. Show.
That really was.
Whoever wrote that line deserves a raise. That's for sure. That was great. A great bit of that.
Solid stuff, Marvel.
Yes, it was.
And so while Wanda's kind of like breaking down like this, Agnes comes over to take the kids, and she's like, "Oh, let's give Mom some me time. We'll go over like." And Wanda's like, "Sure, whatever. Agnes, you're so great." And so that's that part of the sequence.
So, and here's the funny thing about Agnes.
You can call her Agnes or Agatha. I don't care.
Yeah, either way at this point. She's sitting, Wanda's sitting on the couch at this point with the boys watching TV, and they hear a knock on the door. She doesn't even get up. She's like, screw it, I'm not getting up. She does her magic, the door opens.
She doesn't care, right, yeah.
She doesn't even look behind her, and she goes, "Hi, Agnes."
Yeah.
And now she's just like, I just don't care. Like, here's magic. Here, I'm doing magic. I don't care who's coming over. Come on in. Oh, wait, I already know it's Agnes.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so Agnes comes in. She's wearing all purple because that's her color. Her witch color is purple. She comes in, talks about the mole on her back. Oh, obviously a nod to a witch.
I caught that too, and I'm like, hold on, there's something about that.
Not only that, but when she showed it to them, they all looked at it in absolute disgust. So whatever mole she has on her back must be foul. They even added in like sound effects, like in the background. I was like, oh, all right, it's really bad. Oh, and then she also mentioned about biting a kid once, which is eating a kid.
Oh yeah.
Assume the children. It's going to be a theme later on the episode in the season. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this scene was very important. And she keeps trying to keep Vision away, right? Like last episode, she tried to make Vision leave the place and kill himself by, going to Ellis Avenue. And then this episode, preventing him from coming home by, distracting him because she wants the kids. She wants the kids all to herself. And she wasn't able to do that yet until now, right? Because remember in the first episode as babies, he wouldn't allow her to touch them. And she says, oh, you want me to hold the babies. Do you want me to take this again? That's why she's trying to get rid of him.
So now she's just turning into the witch in that children's story where...
Hansel and Gretel. Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel. It's a Hansel and Gretel tale.
Yes. Or like the witch. Yes.
Uns, we love Hansel and Gretel. It's so good.
All right, let's stop offending all Germans and Austrians. All right, so she takes them. They're out.
Yeah, and so everything's glitching out, and Wanda says, "I'm fine," while it's glitching out while she's doing it. And this is the shot that we see is revealed later on, and that's pretty much the transition out of that. So then we can go back to the outside world, and they call it Codename Cataract. So Wu starts giving exposition on what Darcy found, extrapolated more. And so Codename Cataract is trying to bring Vision back online. And so the interesting aspect of this is that at the end of the last episode, Prague brought up the idea of Sentinels from the X-Men universe. And repurposing Vision and using his android technology is really important in that. But in the same vein, in the MCU, Vision's created differently in the comics than the MCU. In the MCU, it's a lot more Ultron plus Tony and Bruce. And so Tony Stark's dead now. And he had pretty much the whole defense shield that he was going to create around the Earth, And so who's going to take advantage of his technology? Is this something Hayward has access to as well?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because Tony has a ton of tech and information and everything that's way more than what Sword or Shield or anybody else has.
Yeah, who has control of his empire right now? I mean, it's not like he gave it to his little girl.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that Pepper Potts has all the...
Maybe? Well, Pepper's such a terrible person, and Gwyneth Paltrow probably is not going to do anything in the MCU, so they're going to have to come up with something.
Yeah.
Wait, and you just got mad at my... that accent I did?
Why? I said Gwyneth Paltrow. What?
It's a terrible person.
No, I said Pepper Potts is a terrible person, and Gwyneth Paltrow has nothing to do with. Don't be taking stuff out of context.
I don't know. It's fun to do that.
I mean, exploding vagina candles. I don't know what's wrong with her. She's fine.
Wow, we're just gonna drop that in.
What's going on in her life?
I'm not writing time code. Let's let it roll, baby.
Staying in. So yeah, that's a good point. I wonder who has control of his tech. So another point about this that I actually had to pause on the screen because something I just don't usually do is pause on the cell phones of people and read what actually goes in there because I don't usually like to spoil things for myself. But I'm like, this must be on purpose. I feel like they're really trying to do things on purpose now. So I read the text, and it looks like I always assumed that it was Darcy and them sending the message to Vision to get his attention, but it wasn't. It was actually Hayward that sent that message about Darcy's work to Vision to wake him up. So that was really interesting to me. I had always assumed it was Darcy that sent that email. So I think he's trying to wake him up inside the hex to bring him out. That's my guess.
So do you think that Hayward is actually a good guy in a way?
I don't know. I think he might be neutral. He might just honestly be afraid of these superpowered people, and he's just like, I will do anything to protect humanity.
Cool. Because we can also, right now we're structured on the idea that Vision can't leave the hex because he's dead, and that's what brings him life. Mm-hmm. And so, in the comics, essentially, West Coast Avengers number 44, Vision loses they had to reboot him. But he doesn't have any of his memories or personality or anything. And then he breaks up with Wanda, and Wanda's devastated even further to the point. So you could have Vision live outside, like they could repurpose Vision and recreate him in some form. Like Shuri almost did it by removing the Mind Stone if she had more time. And they could always do that with Wanda too. Because like Wanda's grieving his death, but they could bring Vision back. And I think walking Vision, not remembering her, would be even worse than dead Vision.
Oh, for sure. And they also mentioned Ultron a lot this episode. They might repurpose him as Ultron, which I hope they don't, because that'd be really creepy. But that's another possibility.
It's just because people hate that they got rid of Ultron just in one movie.
I know.
Like
yeah,
he's
that could be it.
repurposed through the comics, but yeah.
I
don't know.
So I'm sorry. Were you guys saying that they were gonna take Vision and just turn him into Ultron?
Like an empty right, yeah, either turn him into a version of Ultron or into an empty shell of him from his former self with no memories of Wanda or anything.
Well,
like no personality.
That I get. Yeah, that I get. But the making him into Ultron, I guess I don't understand what would be the purpose of doing that.
They wouldn't make him into Ultron. The thing about Ultron is that he takes over by himself. He has one, like Vision's essentially the one who defeats him in Age of Ultron. He's the one who finally ends it. And he says there's still some remnant code somewhere, somehow, that I'll always keep guard for.
Huh.
Yep.
And so he's no longer doing that. Yeah.
Okay.
Something to think about. Anyways, we can move on.
Also, in Avengers Disassembled, Ultron, like Vision dies in that one. That's the one where Scarlet Witch kills Vision. And then Ultron robots come out of Vision's dead carcass.
That was great, yeah.
They could always do that, too.
I'm telling you, that's how you birth the Sentinels. Just saying.
I'm imagining like baby robots climbing out.
Go, 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 go.
And they'll just say it's Agatha all along.
I'm here for the comedy, folks. Okay, I'm here for the comedy.
The rockets like zoom off.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtop gal.
You're way over on this episode. We're not even halfway through the episode yet. Jeez, all right, let's continue. Come on, please.
And so
better than last week.
Now we get to the point where Monica said she has a friend on the outside that could help her.
Oh, yes.
And so I got excited going into this point that they were actually going to show something. And she's just Major Goodness or Godness or something. And she got the specs all right for you. And it's just like a little Mars rover or something. Shout out to JPL and the whole NASA program.
Okay. This is an interesting scene, right? Because this is the scene that they've been building up for a long time. And they knew that fans were going to go crazy for this scene, and they trolled us on purpose.
Yes.
They filmed the scene was on purpose because like you were in this Humvee, so you have very small windows. You can't really see, and it keeps like going downhill. It's like, oh my God, just tell us who it is. And she's all excited about it. And you find out, is this person we've never seen or heard of before named Goodner? What is going on here, right? They're totally trolling us. They're totally trolling us. And this is where I think the Uno thing comes back in. And I do think that is her friend, her Skrull friend from Captain Marvel, all grown up. And I think that's her unit. That's her Skrull unit that helped her. And that's why they were able to build this thing so fast. Alien technology and, minds. They were able to build that thing for her.
I'm going to jump in and just say that just a little piece of this annoyed me when she says, all right, so this is up to your specs. What do you think? And she goes, she's perfect. Yeah, you're looking at it from 50 yards away. Why don't you sit it and tell them that it's perfect? How do you know that anything's going to even work? You just watched it back up. Like, how do you know anything is even? It backed up. She's perfect. And what a missed opportunity. Yeah, I know. And what a missed opportunity that they couldn't do a little Back to the Future nod since they did it in Endgame. They could have had, as it's backing up, do the cool like crane shot of it coming out of the truck. Sorry, these are things that I think about. And Prague, I think you're frozen.
It's okay.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. Can you still hear me at least? Maybe I have been taking
now
off.
I can.
No, this was possibly if this were the 80s episode, but this wasn't. This was the 2010s episode, so we did not get that. So anyways, I think that they did this on purpose. They were trolling us. I think that they want us to get excited for a Reed Richards reveal, just not quite yet. And they knew that we were going to do this. They even have a scene in one of the circus scenes that says "Fool the Guesser." So they're well aware that we're at home going to be doing this while we watch the show. So it's a big wink and a nod. That's for sure. And it was fun.
Well, smart friends.
I love
don't catch stuff at all.
Great. Anytime anyone can troll people, it just makes me happy. So I'm all in for it. As long as I didn't get John Krasinski as Reed Richards, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll just check it out on IMDb. I'll let you know.
Okay, go ahead.
As long as it's not Jennifer Lawrence.
Let's not talk
I'm not really gonna tell you, but whatever.
Not that I care that much. I'm not a big Fantastic Four fan, but please don't, Marvel, if you're listening.
Just come up with somebody I've never heard of.
Please, yes. No name. Anyways, all right. So then what happens? She tries to go into the thing. The big moment.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now we transition back inside the Void Division talking to Darcy.
Oh, that's right. That's the scene where it says "Fool the Guesser." I'm sorry. That's the Fool the Guesser. It happens right after that scene, which is pretty funny.
And so right now, he snaps Darcy out of it, and she says, "Part of me wanted a guest spot on the show," which is funny because we did have just a guest spot. But then they steal the funnel cake truck, and this is like this whole clowns are in the way. The one guy is like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And they're just driving around in circles, and it's really goofy and stuff. And then they get to the point where he asks, "Who is that imposter Pietro?" And she's like, "I don't know." And so that didn't help anybody.
Nope. No one knows. No one knows. And there was a little nod to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this scene because there was a little hula dancing girl on the dashboard, which was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So just a little nod there.
And then one kind of weird thing I saw was Darcy's costume, her outfit. Mm-hmm. Didn't it look like the winged monkey from Wizard of Oz?
Okay, thank you. I was like,
we talked about Wizard of Oz in the past.
Right. Yeah, it was weird. I'm wondering if they're going with that or if they just, I don't know. I was going to say maybe at some point her character evolves into some kind of like flying monkey character, mutant. I don't know. We shall see.
Man, do you guys really think that there's going to be just a big mutant thing happen in the end of the show?
Yes.
Wow.
Maybe not at the end of this show, but
they're going to set it up somehow.
Whenever X-Men are actually revealed, the thread starts here.
I think so. Yeah, I agree. Because there's just too much to do with Wanda's powers and how before it was like the Mind Stone and now they're trying to change it into something else.
Yeah, like we did our stone thing. We got rid of that. And so now we have to, because we had to use the stones because that's all we have access to. We can't come up with mutated genes. And so now they're like, we can. We can't. We'll just act like we ended phase 3 and now we're starting brand new with new ideas in the whole MCU. And you can because reality broke by Thanos' snap and it's all great.
Yeah. And it's all fake, so you can write whatever you want.
Exactly.
That's why comics are so fun.
Exactly. Read
Nothing's ever permanent.
It's fun. It's so
I read
fun.
Back to the Future comics.
All right. Well, that's good. There you go. Okay, what's next?
And so now we transition back out to Wanda. And this is weird because everything's glitching out really bad. Like even the frame of the house is glitching out. And
yes.
When you look at the frame of the house, it looks like the house is in a really bad area. Did you guys know that? Like, it looks like this is like almost an abandoned place. Like the frame, like the grass is super long and the wood looks like it hasn't been. It looks like it's specifically.
That would make sense though, right? If they've been in this, maybe she chose a less populated area on purpose, and then
or it looks like it deteriorates rapidly inside. Right. Yeah,
exactly. That's creepy. And also the part that really creeped me out was the stairs laughing at her. I did not. That was off-putting. That was very disturbing.
And then the stork reappears too because we haven't had enough of the Mephisto stork that has the red smoke around it and all that good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, my favorite part.
That's funny that you guys notice that type of stuff. Whenever the lamp above the table, and I kind of wish that they would have done this, but the lamp above the table, like everything's changing to like older times and whatnot. But when that lamp changes to something older, I'm like, damn, that's a nice lamp. And I was thinking, That would be cool if she went, I might keep that. Like, just to have a little bit of fun with the scene. You know what I mean? Like she's changing everything back, but then she goes, I dig that.
You can stay.
Yeah, I wish she would have done that. But whatever. Didn't happen.
Okay, it's cute.
And so now, after this is all like glitching out and stuff, she goes back to the little interview chair, and the interviewer says, "Do you think this is maybe what you deserve?" And she's like, "You're not supposed to talk." And then we transition into a commercial. But this is interesting because at the end, we see who's sitting in the interview chair, but this was totally a guy's voice, right?
No. So I rewound it twice and listened to it multiple times, and it's Agatha's voice, but she's doing a deeper, like,
it's a pitched down voice.
Yeah, like she was
they
doing.
Pitched it down in post. Absolutely. It was weird.
But
because when I heard it too, I was like, "That's not a guy's voice." The first time I heard it, I'm like, "It's some, I don't know, deeper voiced female." It was very weird.
Well, and it was said in the same like cadence and like accent as Agatha, and I'm like, oh, dude, that's totally Agatha. That's
awesome. I didn't get it as Agatha the first time through, but obviously the second time. Oh, okay, now I get it. That she just deepened her voice for that little scene. But what is weird is that you're not supposed to talk. Like, does she? So she's this is where I think she might be aware that there is somebody else in there with her, and she just doesn't care. She doesn't know who she is yet, obviously. But
that's the funny thing too is. And I'm going to skip ahead really quick to that scene where you do see Agatha in the director's chair, but she turns around when she's winking and nodding at the camera, but she also does shh as if I'm not supposed to be talking, but here I am in the director's chair. I kind of like that. I was like, oh, okay, I see that now she's kind of playing off that.
And breaking the fourth wall. She's literally talking to us now at home. It's no longer, the MCU audience watching this show. From Sword headquarters, it's us at home. She's going, see? Nerds. It was me all along.
Anyway. And then, do you like just the question, you think you deserve it? Like, what did Wanda even do?
Dude, she killed all those people in Lagos and stuff, She's responsible for a lot of deaths, and that's what her grief is about, and she's trying to prod her for that. I think she's feeding off of her grief. She loves it. This is part of her needing that grief to manifest her magic.
I thought Cap got her over that. I thought just one little speech got her over it. Cap usually has those good speeches that just solve the day.
That's why
that was my takeaway from the whole three phases.
Gotcha. Anyways, so I think that's why she showed Pietro with the bullet holes and why she showed her vision dead as well. It was that whole thing of trying to prod her out of this reality. Like, hey, you're grieving, remember? Here's your dead husband. Here's your dead brother. Don't you deserve this?
You remember all the people Okay, that makes sense.
Right, but so Agatha wasn't in either one of those scenes.
What do you mean?
Have you seen? I mean, literally.
Oh, she's behind everything.
Oh,
she's
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. Duh.
She's hiding.
We haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
Right.
We'll get there.
And so now we get to the commercial break, and this goes right into grief. It's actually a form of depression. So feeling depressed, we have a new medicine or new medication for you. It's called Nexus. And so again, everything always means something in this show, just so you guys, everybody knows. And with Nexus, it's a cross-dimensional gateway which provides a pathway to any and all possible realities. This includes realities between realities. So that's the official definition from Marvel Wikipedia about Nexus. And there's a few Nexus wielders or Nexus controllers, and Scarlet Witch is one of them. So it's specifically called Nexus for a reason. But this is an actually very funny commercial because one of the side effects is possibly more depression. Yeah, and that's the best side effect.
Possibly more depression. This is great. This almost felt like an SNL sketch. It was really well done.
Yes, it did. And so we bring back the same lady and guy from the earlier commercials that have been in every commercial except for the animated shark from last episode, which still is an out of place. It was my favorite commercial, but regardless.
That was the best commercial. I still don't. I have no idea what that was about.
And then this one ends because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it?
Or does it?
Wink. Because literally it kind of does. I mean, she is a Nexus being. She exists the exact same in every reality. Like, she is That's why I kept telling people I'm so glad they got to do this show, because she is so powerful of a being in the Marvel comics, and like they just weren't able to utilize that in the movies because they didn't have the rights to all those stories and stuff from the mutants.
So this again is another. I know that we've said this 1,000 times this episode, but winking a nod to nerds, because if you're an everyday watcher, you wouldn't catch that.
I think they're trying to do,
look it up.
What I think they're trying to do at this point, with this show specifically, is they're very heavy on trying to make you, the person who isn't into comics, go online and research stuff and read the comics or read blurbs or go into IMDb or go into, Marvel Wiki or whatever and look this stuff up, because they want you to be a part of the process that the Marvel nerds are, because they're trying to introduce concepts. And it's more fun if they're able to do it in a way that has you search stuff out and go like, "Oh, cool! Now I know what that means." And when they reveal it later, you go, "Oh, that's that thing I read it, but I knew it was going to be that." That's where I think I'm going to get to here in a minute with the whole Agatha reveal. And I think they did it that way on purpose. That it was so in your face so that they can get everybody on board and be like, "Oh my God, I told you it was Agatha." People who have never heard of Agatha before in their life are like, "Oh my God, I told you so." It was like that bonding moment between fans. Like, they're going to introduce this obscure character. How can they do that?
Explained, the way that you just explained all of that was perfect. It was solid. I mean, that's perfect, because
I think
I'm sitting here thinking,
so obvious.
See,
it's painfully obvious.
Other people don't have this podcast, so I have you guys telling me all this stuff, so I don't have to do all the research. But if you were getting into the show more and more, then you're going to go, "Well, I should probably look that up."
I think Marvel is smart enough to be like, "Oh, the fans are going to do this, so let's set this up this way. Let's drop this right here so you can research it and go, oh, I bet they're going to introduce this person. Let me read up on this person to get excited for that or that concept or whatever."
Because everybody's at home anyways. All they can do is just look up stuff.
Yeah, you're stuck at home.
Yeah.
Might as well. That's why there's so many Easter eggs in the show.
For the Nexus point also, just because the main idea that kind of Prague hinted at is that they have to reboot what the MCU is. Everything was controlled by the stone. The Mind Stone essentially defined some of their most powerful characters. And then which stone is in the Tesseract? The Blue Stone? I don't even know what the names are anymore. Yep. But it controls Captain Marvel. Yeah, the Space Stone. So all the stones have controlled everybody's powers that we know. Yeah. And so now they have to go back and reboot it. And they, because Scarlet Witch, to Alex's point, before we even started, she's waves her little magic hands around and she has little red wisps. Right. It's stupid. It's not an intimidating character. It's not interesting at all. And so they have to reboot her to show just what she's capable of. And when you realize that she literally can be a controller of realities and the same existence across realities, it shows how powerful of a being she can be.
Yeah.
And so they have
That's
to
the reason why Agatha
too.
needs her.
Yeah.
Agatha's like, wow, this person is powerful AF. I am going to use her.
Yeah, Agatha's like, I can't do any of the stuff that she does, but I can manipulate her.
Yeah. I can puppeteer her, that's for sure. So
I wonder if they'll get into how they got together in a way.
I think they'll probably show a flashback thing, just like they did with the Agatha All Along thing. They'll probably do like a whole, like, here, let me show you kind of a deal.
I at this point, I think they're kind of like done with the shows. Like done doing.
I don't watch the trailers, so I don't know like if they're doing sitcoms still, but they're pretty much at the end of it. So at this point, now that they broke the fourth wall, I do think it is going to be 2 straightforward episodes. I don't know if we're going to get too much of the sitcom aspect.
Right. So that's what.
It's sad we never got a 90s sitcom too, because Malcolm in the Middle actually premiered in 2000. I had to look it up, and I was like, we never got a 90s show.
Yeah, they kind of skipped over the 90s, sadly.
There was so much to choose from in the 90s too.
Maybe they just couldn't find one that fit what they were trying to say too. I think they tried to find specific sitcoms for things. Maybe this were like, all right, forget it. I don't know. I don't do those things.
Yeah, Modern Family was way too easy because I mean you could just sit.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because
you talk your inner thoughts.
In the beginning, they're all wholesome, nuclear families are happy and together, and then over time, sitcoms became more dysfunctional. Right. Just like her and her family and her mind. So it was kind of brilliant how they did that.
All right, so now we transition out of the commercial and we have the star of WandaVision, Senor Scratchy. And he's the absolute best.
Love that guy.
Okay,
And
Senor Scratchy though
That guy
purrs like a kitten. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, I did not notice that, but that's very good point to make.
There is something up with that bunny because it
There's
purrs like a
something up.
cat.
There is
Wait a
foot.
second.
something
The
up.
tiger.
Bunny.
We were introduced
Well, I was just
to the
thinking of
bunny
like
on
a
the
cat
same.
and a witch having a black cat.
It can mean a lot of things. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Man,
But yes,
okay.
you're right. There is something to do with the bunny. Yes, I'll talk about that in a moment.
And then Billy says, "Oh, I like him because he's quiet." And then he's like, "You're quiet on the inside too, Agnes." And that's super creepy, dude. Like,
So rad. She looks at him like, "Oh my god."
Well, I feel like that was like even for me who doesn't know anything about this stuff, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, well, he just called her out."
Right, he did, really.
Because that's kind of the same thing. Like, you watch those dumb Twilight movies, they kind of do the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, she smells differently.
Wow.
Oh, I can't hear your thoughts. Or, the dumb stuff like that. So I felt like this is a big time trope that they just threw into the show.
Yep. Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, he totally called her out on it, but he doesn't know what that means. He's only, a few days old? He has no idea.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know.
But then
I
the other
born
brother.
yesterday, and he almost was.
Right. Oh, and also just a note to Wanda at the beginning of the episode. He comes in there like obviously sad and like scared that he has all these voices in his head, and she just ignores him and throws the covers over it. Like, what the hell, woman?
Parenting 101 right there.
And Wanda, and then later he's like, who's going to care about you? Like, Wanda, come on. I don't know. Poor Wanda.
Billy's so much better than Tommy. I don't know if it's like that in the comics, but in this show, they could just write Billy off the show.
You mean Tommy or Billy?
I don't. And I switch him up. Now Tommy's the one who's fast, right?
Yes.
The White Ranger or the Blue Ranger? That's all I keep hearing every time.
Yeah, get rid of the White Ranger.
That's because,
never. The White Ranger's the best.
That's because telepassing comic books are far more interesting than speedsters, in my opinion. So yes, I would agree.
Don't tell that to Damien, though.
Emma Frost, fantastic. Yeah, sorry, Damien.
Shout out to Damien over there at Geek Together. All right, he loves the Flash. Let's move on.
Shout out to Emma Frost having a gigantic role in House of M, and I wonder if there's some way they're going to tie her into the show because she's like the
we'll talk
second
about
most important person. Anyway,
oh my God, there's so much that I missed.
It's crazy. So now we look to the camera trope with Wu, and we have the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs line, which I wrote it down because it was so damn annoying. But anyway, now we're back to Monica. She has a spacesuit on out of nowhere. And she's going into the most heavily armed space rover, and she's just going to sail right through. So now she's going. We're counting it down to go into it, and the rover slams into the wall. The density's matching her. It's trying to like transition itself. Monica barely escapes and jumps out, and then the rover has a front end that kind of reminded me of the van from Ant-Man. I don't think that's what it was, but it had a vibe of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wanted it to be because that van is like a time travel van and this is a quantum realm van. I wanted it to have some kind of connection.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think. Yeah.
I know.
But yeah,
I wanted it.
So this was actually the scene where I was on the bike, and this whole scene kind of made me get real pumped and real, real jacked for what I was doing because. I mean, you're watching that truck fly across the field, and then it slams into that wall, and I'm like, "Dude, this is sick!" Ah! Yeah, so that would be the.
You should film yourself doing that next time.
We need live reaction like that.
I'll be
That's what you do. Live reactions of Wandavision like Peloton. Darn it, missed opportunity. Oh well. All right, so spits it out. Then what happens? She's like, all right, I'm over.
Monica, she hears Darcy's voice in her head to say, don't go through a third time or whatever. And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to go through a third time. And so Monica decides to run through the barrier. She's like, I can make it. And now she has 4 versions of herself all running through the barrier. And then this is when we get a whole clip montage from Captain Marvel, whether it's voices from when she's little, her mom, or Brie Larson. It's all over mixed on top of itself as she's going through this transition.
Yeah. Even Nick Fury's voice calls out to her like a Jedi. It did.
Was it Mace Windu?
Yes.
It was a lot like Rise of Skywalker.
It Yes, that was a cool scene. I enjoyed that little scene. That was fun.
I did too, because it really gets you kind of like gets your heart racing. It gets you pumped up. And then when she pops out the other side, she's got the big old blue eyes.
She has the blue eyes, and then she sees the world in a whole different, like, rainbow-esque
spectrum.
Yeah, spectrum.
A whole new spectrum.
Yeah, it's almost like you could see the electrical pulses coming from even like just little things to the larger things. You see these like electrical pulses pulsing from everything, and it looks pretty stellar, man.
Sorry, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just dropping all the names that she has in the comics. That's all I'm doing right now, being silly. Spectrum, pulsar, photon. Yeah. Anyway, so she can see energy, right? So that's going to be very important to her in WandaVision because of, all the different powers and the magical powers and the electrical powers and all this stuff. So kind of cool that she got like the most convenient power by going.
That's how powers work.
She couldn't become a speedster, even though she might have, because she ran across town and like.
I'm sure she has a little bit of pep step now. She is a superhero after all. So. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what they do with her character outside of this show once we continue on in the
I hope so.
Universe. Yeah.
I really like her. I like her character, and I like her as a person too. She's fantastic.
This is the first of the big like reveals of this episode that Monica has powers, and something that the show has been building out. This is going to happen. Monica's going to have powers, and so they finally laid it out. What's interesting though is when we went into WandaVision, I thought, okay, Scarlet Witch is going to be in Doctor Strange. There's multiverse. There's all that potential of what they're going to do. I didn't actually think that the show was going to set up Monica Rambeau as probably the biggest takeaway from this entire series. I didn't expect that at all. Right? So I am impressed with the show. Like, it set it up through this sequence, but from 1 to 7, that wasn't going to be my takeaway from WandaVision.
No, me neither. That was kind of cool. See that. It's like, ooh, all right.
Well, you guys have been talking about how she was going to become a hero.
It's just not what I expected going into WandaVision.
Oh, of course. Right. Yeah.
It's a
surprising I had no idea she was even going to be in the show, like, before it came on. So, that was neat.
Yep, super cool. And so, was there any particular quotes that stood out? Because I heard them, but I didn't care.
It was all the quote. It was just the quotes from Captain Marvel, like Lola, your Aunt Carol, saying, "Oh, you're going to be Captain Marvel in the future, apparently." So, if you want to take away that, yes.
Okay. Anyway. And so then we zoom back, so now she's in the void or in the hex, and everybody's all in the hex. We don't need to go back outside. And so Darcy then gives us a play-by-play of Infinity War. She literally tells Vision how she died. And so I don't know who gave her this report, if there was actual footage from the scene, but she literally acted like she watched Infinity War. Because last I checked in Infinity War, Thanos just knocked away everyone. So Cap couldn't even give reports. Like, he literally just knocked Cap unconscious. And Vision's the last person. And Scarlet Witch comes up to stop him. And then he rewinds time. And somehow Darcy knew that he rewinded time. I don't know how she would be aware that he rewinded time, because it shouldn't technically happened in the structure of time. That shouldn't even be noticeable. And then she actually kills you, or he kills you a second time. So I don't know how she's aware. How is she aware of what happened in Infinity War? This is twice now.
No idea, but I'm saying it's just like Star Wars. Everyone got to see it on TV. I'm telling you, it was broadcast. They had like little drones telling you. They did. It was broadcast in bars and stuff. People were clapping and cheering. I bet you they're gonna show that one of these days. No, I have no idea. It's ridiculous.
Well, they did do it with Mandalorian, so why not do it with Marvel too? Wow, man.
Exposition. Yes.
But even Vision, he even asked the question. He was like, "Tell me the story of Infinity War." That's pretty much what he said essentially. Was tell me the story of Infinity War. Yeah. Fun. Oh man, yeah. I never really thought about that.
It's funny to think about Mandalorian, because like when they blew up the Death Star, did like the Millennium Falcon have like a camera hooked to it when they're going and recording a book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed
can't really
like
see it too well, but yeah, that was there.
There was a wide shot, nice establishing view. You got your boom mic guy. Yeah, we got to get the sound out here. Yeah, we got to get a little closer. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Keep it steady. Let's move on. And so now Vision has the really fun interview. Like literally, they park the funnel
That
truck
was great,
so he can
yes.
sit in a chair in front of the funnel cake truck to talk about what's going on.
What
And
am I
this
even
is just the
doing
absurd sanity. It's like it's the hyperbole of taking Modern Family out of context and the stupidest things they do.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it was hilarious.
Hit his head on the boom mic guy and everything.
Yeah.
Oh no, but that's the second time that he does it. The first time he's straight up just
Yeah. About sure, he gave the Jim face. I'm not amused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
so
what
now
do
this is when obstacles start getting in the way. They have like the kids go by, they're doing construction in the intersection, all the stupid stoplight. This was pretty annoying. And then finally he just like flies through the roof and says, I'm out of it. But before that, Darcy has to throw out how much love you guys have for each other. If this is, I've watched the show and you and Wanda just love each other so much, and that will go beyond bounds and any kind of evil doing or whatever, magic, it doesn't matter. You're just pure love. Great. Cool. And so he leaves right after she tells him this whole thing.
He's like, that's fantastic.
So this was kind of interesting. The whole thing was they were stopped at a stoplight, and they were like, "Oh, well, this seems a little weird for being out here in the sticks. Is the stoplight?" And they keep hitting every red light. In between there, they then jump to a scene of Wanda in her kitchen. I don't know what she's doing at this point. I'm sure you've got it written down, but if you look behind her, the plates are stacked up like a stoplight. You've got a big red plate, you got a smaller yellow plate, and then you've got a mug down below that's a green mug.
Very nicely.
I saw that on my cell phone. Oh, let me pat myself on the back. I love my. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Let's move on.
And so after that sequence, Wanda comes outside and Monica's there, and so they have this whole like your back kind of thing, confrontation on the front yard. And so Wanda's like, don't make me hurt you. And she throws a little magic, but she doesn't realize, I guess, that maybe Monica's eyes have changed since the last time you've seen her. Because that should be a dead giveaway that something's different when her eyes are glowing blue. Maybe this person is slightly different, but no.
To be fair, her eyes were not glowing. Yeah. Her eyes only glow when she needs them to. So her eyes were actually normal at that scene. So she didn't know that.
When she was lifted into the sky, and then Wanda was doing this. I'm gonna slam you into the ground. That's when.
That's when eyes glow. Yeah. So, to be fair, she didn't know.
To be fair,
I thought when she ran up, they were super blue because, like to Alex's point, she was moving super fast.
No,
I don't know. Not when she came into the house.
I watched that scene.
She doesn't come into the house.
She does. She comes right up into the house as she's taking her Nexus pills. She was like actually taking some of the pills and walks right up to the banister and talks to her. Yeah, and she pushes her out of the house. No.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that would have been weird if she had seen the glowing eyes and not done anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed that too because her eyes actually changed back to normal before she even started running to the house too.
Yes.
I was like, oh, so it kind of comes and goes.
Because whenever her eyes turned back to normal, she then saw Wanda's world in a normal
as it is.
Way. Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah.
And then she started sprinting.
But this scene is really cool because it kind of shows who Monica Rambeau really is. She is this really thoughtful, caring, heroic person. Like, she risked her life to go in there to save this woman who is grieving. She's like, I've been through the same thing as her. I can help her out, and I can end this way because I've been through that. That's my truth. And I thought that was a really cool character moment for that character rather than just, I have superpowers. Well, no, I'm also a really good person. You know?
Yeah, I lost the closest person to me, all that kind of stuff. And then she says, maybe I already am, saying that you're not too far gone or you're not beyond saving or something. And Wanda says, maybe I already am.
Yeah, maybe I am the villain.
The villain, yeah.
Yeah, the villain, yeah.
The villain. Which made me think, oh, come on. Prague was right about that too.
Sorry.
And so, so Monica responds with the blue energy and takes all of it and is able to pull off a landing and fun little stuff. It is superhero landing. And so,
yep.
That was fun.
Agnes then comes over because she's spying along and she sees and she interrupts and she calls out the suspicious postman again.
Yeah. She's like,
because everybody's like, all these people are spying on this whole thing, and Agnes just comes in and just takes Wanda away.
And this is the first time we've seen Dottie again in a while, too.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about after. So, yeah, we see Dottie, the mailman. She was in the rose bushes. She was trimming her yellow roses.
Man, missed that.
Yellow roses. Okay.
Wait, does that mean something, Prague?
Yes,
Wait,
we'll talk
keep
about
saying
later. We'll
yellow
talk about
rose.
later.
Okay, all right.
I just wanted to mention it now. So you're
Tune in for later, folks.
Yes. Okay, so we do that, and Agnes comes out to save the day, right?
Yeah, Agnes takes Wanda back to her house. And this is the first time we've actually gone to Agnes's house.
Finally, she has a house.
Yeah,
No,
this is the
we were
weird
over
thing.
there with the twins. The twins were over there.
We were, yeah. No
We were
worries.
already over there.
No,
No,
not
this
like
is
in the
when
show.
we're-
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And so this is where Yo Gabba Gabba's playing, and then there's this weird zoom on a fly. I don't know what the fly means.
Well, it was like all these like weird things. She was noticing that the sandwiches were half eaten. There was Yo Gabba Gabba on the TV.
She's like, wait,
There's
that's right.
no
my kids,
kids
are here. This whole
anywhere.
thing, right?
Things just seem weird in the house.
Yo Gabba Gabba was singing "Jump, Jump, Jump" over and over again, which I didn't catch the first time because I'm like, "What the heck is this creepy show?" And I put the subtitles on the second time, and all they say is "Jump, jump,
Jump, jump, jump, jump, jump, jump, jump.
like jump from a ledge, kill yourself, jump, jump, jump.
Whoa!
Like, oh my god!
Whoa!
So
God, I didn't get that.
and then
Good
looks
Lord.
at Senior Scratchy, who may or may not be Agatha's son, because he is in the comics, and then it looks over at the fly on the wall, the cicada, who may or may not be Mephisto, because Mephisto's first appearance in the comics is as a fly. So it could be either a nod to that, or it could actually just be him being the fly on the wall the whole time during the show.
Have we
Anyways,
seen
that was
flies before?
At least I
Okay.
haven't seen it. That was my-
What?
But I wonder, like now I'm like, should I go back now? Should I be looking in the background at different scenes? Maybe. I just have
Like this
never-
is finally when Wanda realizes the fly on the wall. Like it's
Yeah.
been there the whole time.
and they zoom in on it. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like it's just there. Like, though, that's a hardcore zoom in. So something's up. And then she goes, "Where are the twins?" Just like in the
they're
comic,
playing in the basement.
right?
They're playing in the
And so-
basement. God, that's so weird.
Wanda
I know,
decides
like,
to go into the basement alone, and then there's creepy plants running the corridor. There's creepy music, and all that fun stuff. And then Agnes comes and she says, "You didn't think you were the only magical girl in town."
And she's holding her son in her arms. It was
And
really
she's
cute.
it's Senior Scratchy. It's not
Yeah.
like an actual
Or, no,
child
also
or
notice
anything.
Scratch, her son, Scratch in the comics. Yeah.
So this is the point where I actually noticed that the rabbit was purring like a cat
Oh, interesting. All right.
while she was sitting
Well, makes
petting.
sense then, like I was
petting
saying,
it.
but, yeah.
Yeah, you could actually hear the purring of a cat, and I'm like, that's a rabbit.
So there's a lot to take in on this. Even before Agatha reveals herself. Like there is so much to take in. I mean, this is the first like really horror we've ever seen in the MCU. Because there's a lot of horror in the Marvel comics. So this is the first time they're kind of introducing the kind of horror like hell realm in the MCU.
Well,
And-
I don't know if.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if Trevor actually mentioned this, but whenever Wanda goes down to the basement to find the children, she's in a basement, but then she walks through a corridor that takes her into like a crypt area, and the crypt
Yeah.
area is where Agatha comes out.
And then we
Ooh.
also get the book that
That's what I was gonna say.
has like a force field
Sorry.
around it and it's floating around. Yeah.
What? I didn't see that.
So they zoomed in on it and like linger on it for like 12 seconds.
It has like orange lights glowing around it.
Nope, totally missed it.
She looks right at it and goes, "What is this thing that's glowing in a book?"
Did I watch a different show? Because I totally missed that.
So in the background, you have all these like skulls and stuff, and red lights on different cabinets and things. And in one of the cabinet areas is this glowing book, which may or may not be the Darkhold from the Marvel comics, which is like a spell book, a Book of the Dead kind of a thing. It's very powerful. It didn't look like that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer canon, they can probably go ahead and make it look different.
And
that
not
is
only
different
that, it had a very Doctor Strange book vibes too. At least
It
the
did.
orange glowing lights were.
Yeah. So this is where I'm starting to get into my color theory. So you have, whenever we see Wanda Maximoff using her power, it's red. And this is the second time we've seen anyone use magic other than her, and it was Agatha, and her magic was purple when she did her whole flip her hand thing that Alex probably hated to show her magic. It was purple.
for some reason that didn't bother me too much because it wasn't like they put some CG glowing ball in her hand.
Did. She had a CG glowing ball in her hand.
Wow.
Literally. Anyway, so she had this purple.
Yeah.
That's her magic color. Wanda's is red. The book was glowing orange. So whatever that magic is an orange magic, right?
Well, it's like a Doctor Strange magic.
Right. So it could be a doctor, because it was probably stolen from his library of books, most likely.
That's what puts Wanda on his radar for the movie.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
We're putting things together now. Fine. Now, this is where I'm going to go a little bit crazy here with my theory.
Cool.
It's one I've had for a long time, and I hope it's true. I really do. So outside, we see Dottie for the first time in a while. Dottie is the key to everything, she says early on in the series, right? And that party scene, she says, Dottie is the key to this town. I'm like, that's really interesting to say about Dottie. So Dottie is played by Emma Caulfield. Her first name is Emma. She could be Emma Frost, and her color of magic could be yellow since she's plucking yellow roses. Everyone's house has roses in front of it, or flowers, right? So you have Wanda. Wanda's house has red carnations and pink carnations in front. Hers had the yellow roses, and Agatha's had the lavender. So I'm thinking they're the witches that are all working together, possibly, and she might be Emma Frost. My guess. I'm hoping it's true.
If you've never read the House of M comics, it's only an 8 comic run. It's really quick, but the idea is essentially that Wanda uses, so Professor X is in her head, and she uses his power to connect with everyone on Earth to create a reality for them all. So she makes everyone kind of get their best possible version. And then in that context, Charles doesn't exist in that reality, in that future. And so Emma Frost is essentially, she's already the one who's running the school, and she's taken over everything. And she's the only one who's kind of powerful enough to connect back through. Because Doctor Strange is doing his kind of connection on the astral plane to Wanda, because Wanda's completely broken from reality. And so Doctor Strange is coming in that way. And then Emma Frost is going to come in on the straight, just like psychological range. And so it makes sense that she would be important to tie into WandaVision.
Yeah. Or it could just be just another red herring, right? But it would make the most sense to me. And she, I think, should be great as Emma Frost. So it'd be kind of cool to see that. I don't know. I hope so.
Especially because the only kind of Emma Frost we've gotten in any kind of Marvel movies is when she turns into diamonds. And some people who've never read the comics didn't even know that she was actually a telepath and on the level of Professor X and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, she has diamond skin.
That's literally all I knew about her was diamond
That's all
skin.
I knew before I read the damn House of M comics.
She's amazing. Yeah.
I know. I didn't have any idea. And I'm like, I feel so bad now.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad at all. But wow. This is fun.
Anyways, that's my theory. We'll see if it comes true. It probably won't. All I know is that Emma Caulfield is good friends with the showrunner, Jock. So maybe she brought her in as Emma Frost, or maybe she's brought her in as a fun Easter egg for fans. Mm-hmm. We'll find out. So yeah, I don't know. This scene. So I did rewatch this show right before we went on just to try to see if I could catch anything else, just frame by frame framing stuff. And I did notice that my last time through this episode, I noticed 2 specifically flies or cicadas flying around in the basement. Just 2. And they were flying around. They were pretty big and loud. I was surprised I missed it the first few times. So that could be Billy and Tommy.
Yeah, the twins, yeah. Because now so essentially if Wanda goes through this whole passage, she could be in the netherworld or some kind of connection.
Yeah, she might be. The aspect ratio changed. We're not in the hex anymore down here. We're somewhere else.
We do go back to a 4x3 right once Agatha's song starts.
Sure.
I remember watching going, oh, gnarly. It's going from 16:9. Like you could see the letterbox and then it
closing in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
That was cool.
And so then this is the song that Alex sang a little bit. This is everything where Agnes is actually Agatha Harkness. And so to people who've never read the comics, Agatha Harkness is essentially the one who taught Scarlet Witch kind of the core ideas of everything. And she's the one who helps her get through losing her twins to Mephisto. Like she's the one who essentially she dies way like in the Scarlet Witch and Vision series, or she like they told that she's got burned at the stake as a witch. So she's already been dead this whole time, right? And so to have this whole connection, it makes sense, but they're going to use her in a different way in the MCU. It's not like she's trained Wanda this whole time.
Right.
They've
Right,
used
she's
her
different
completely
now.
different in the show. They're just using her name and borrowing it over.
That could explain why Billy couldn't hear voices within her head.
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying, her license plate does say Connecticut. They're obviously using that trope. So they are using her from Salem times. This is definitely an old woman in a younger woman's body, most likely, manipulating stuff. Is my guess.
So they're gonna kill off the kids?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're not even real technically at this point.
The kids aren't real
Yet. Right now, they're just magical beings that have been created in this reality.
It's like the reason Agatha, I think, because in her song, it starts with her turning from purple smoke into a real person, essentially.
Yeah.
And so
hocus pocus.
it's just a whole, it's a whole magic thing.
It's very hocus
just like
pocusy thing, yeah.
The reason Vision exists in the Hex is the reason I think Agatha exists, the reason the twins exist. They're not actual live living body entities. And that's why Monica changed completely when she went in. Because she actually is a living person.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, last episode, Wanda took the hex and she made it big. And when she made it bigger, she turned it red. Before it was red, what color was that?
It was nothing really. It was just like
it
a
was
TV
more
screen.
like the TV, kind of like behind Prague. It was just that TV waves.
Okay, because I was thinking, maybe if it was like more purpley,
right?
Then maybe at that time, Agatha was doing the hex and Wanda was able to control everything else. But now that Wanda's controlling the hex, I don't know. I'm just coming up with theories
I don't know.
Just to kind of like.
That's a good point. I have no idea because I think it was colorless the first time, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I don't remember, man. But yeah, it could just be it. I think it was just the wavy because I remember even mentioning the closer you got to it, you could see the red, greens, and blues, and I thought that was really cool. So
another thing before I forget, because I will, her brooch is back. And if you've ever taken a close look at the brooch, it always has 3 witches on it. So that hopefully will reinforce my theory of the 3 witch thing. So we got Scarlet Witch, Agatha, and Emma Frost being the 3 magical beings here. But we shall see. Unless that third person is really Mephisto. Because everything's Mephisto.
Everything's Mephisto.
Everything.
Mephisto.
Dude has a red cane.
Pietro.
The cane is Mephisto.
That's right.
Speaking of Pietro,
Snooper's gonna snoop.
Well, before we get to the bonus scene,
okay,
I do want to just say that shout out to using the Munsters theme. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I love this Agatha All Along song. It's so great. I want this on my Spotify playlist immediately." But this is the Munsters theme, and the Munsters theme is outstanding.
It's one of my favorite shows. Oh yeah, love the Munsters.
Didn't catch it.
What? Did you not watch TV growing up? I'm trying to wonder about
I did, but I watched Hey Dude and.
Oh, I like Hey Dude.
Yeah.
The Nick at Night has Munsters.
I watched I Love Lucy, and then we talked about this. We had a whole episode about.
Yeah, we did. That's not about this. But then also, there's the line that it's too late to fix anything now that everything has gone wrong. And so, are they going to be? Is our heroes going to be able to save the day in our last 2 episodes? Are they going to be able to fix everything?
Well, they're all converging, right? You got Vision on his way. Darcy's slowly going to make it there. We have Monica already there. So they're all converging on that spot. We shall see.
Because I don't know if Agatha and her whole brilliant plan, because if Agatha actually is just using the Netherworld to connect to the opening that Wanda created, she definitely didn't have a plan of a superpowered person to be manipulated by this hex and be created out of thin air. Right. That wasn't part of her plan. Nope. And so that ties in to there being a bonus scene. So luckily this is a Marvel thing, and I wondered when they were going to do it. I thought it was going to be after episode 9. It's cool that they did it in 7 just to tease us. And so what was Monica doing while, Wanda's going crazy downstairs? And so she's going to be sneaking up and she's looking at the little basement doors. Snooping. And so
she's snooping.
She is snooping. And so now Alex asked, what's Pietro been doing since he got blasted away? And so this answers both of those questions.
There he is. So
Pietro's being manipulated by Agnes.
What's cool about this, so he's being manipulated by Agnes. We saw that in her song.
Yes.
We also saw her eyes glow purple this time because this time she's seeing the purple magic, not the blue spectrum of the hex itself. So she's seeing now her magic, and that's why, because she's the only one that can see it. Everyone else just sees those as vines, right? Even Wanda sees it as vines in the basement. She actually sees it for what it is. It's magic in those flowers and vines. So he shows up rather quickly, I may add. I think he might be Agatha's son, the rabbit, and that he can transform into this, whatever version
why
of
he was
Pietro.
wearing the goofy hat?
Yes, that's why I think he's wearing the goofy hat. And then the last scene, they weren't devil horns; those were bunny ears on his head.
Yes.
On the
So
wait, what?
last
On the
episode. Remember last episode I said, "Oh, it's like Mephisto. He has devil horns." No, I think those were rabbit ears.
Oh.
I think she came out that day, and that's why she wasn't wearing her brooch during that episode. That match. So maybe his solar magic was being used with the brooch thing, and gave that off.
What would people do without us?
That's my guess. I don't know. Just guessing. Super's gonna snoop. So,
Snooper's gonna
he
So,
got
okay.
caught.
I do have one last question. Vision leaves the car,
Mhm.
and we never see Vision again for the rest of the episode.
Right.
Yep.
Rhodes is able to run across the entire city in 10 seconds to get to Wanda.
We don't know where that's at, though. We don't know where the circus is. Well, no, I guess the circus is
No,
there,
I
huh?
mean,
No, but we don't know where
It's a
she's.
small
she's got a
town.
different
It's a,
place. But still,
it's
I
a
know.
small town. He's Vision.
Monica
He can
couldn't have
fly.
been. Yeah, Monica couldn't have been closer than Vision because she literally comes from the outside the hex at a starting point. So she's on the very edge of it.
Right. And Vision
Yeah,
can
good point.
probably fly a lot faster than
Or
her.
maybe he
Well,
got
Vision could probably fly as
somewhere.
fast as he wants to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a little weird for me that Vision didn't show back up. I mean, granted, yeah, story-wise, it didn't make sense for him to
here's the
show
other
back
thing.
up.
Think about this. We don't know when he left the car. He could have left the car at any point in time. We might be
Yeah.
being shown things out of order.
Well,
we have no
then
idea.
don't put them in order the way that you did.
It didn't
They
bother
have
me.
to build drama. Vision just has to come out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And then he comes from the sky, floating down like Jesus.
As except he's gonna be all gray and dead.
That's
And it's
true.
gonna be this really creepy resurrection inverted
Oh,
analogy
that would be
right in time for
gnarly.
Easter. Oh god.
Making stuff
like
happen
it.
over here.
I like it,
Ah.
Trevor. I like we were heading that.
I swear, with the stuff we come up with, I feel like we should have like 50,000 listeners right now.
Mm.
Or a fraction of 50,000. Sorry, that was a pre-show thing. Nobody's listening at this point. We're already at an hour and a half.
How do we
Is
talk so
anything
long
else-
about episode 7? This wasn't even that good of an episode.
We're all awake. I need to work out every time before these episodes because I've got a lot more energy whenever I do.
Is there anything else you guys want to say?
I think I covered everything. I think somehow we talked an hour and a half about an episode that they could have extracted from the whole series. So I'm not good for episode 8 or 9. You guys better buckle up, listeners at home. They might be 3-hour episodes.
That's a good call.
Indeed, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
done too.
Cool. Be sure to read comics, friends. It makes the show really weird and peculiar how they go different routes than what's the story told in the comics. And they just drop little tidbits here and there just as allusions for fan service. And I don't even know what they're doing with Agatha. Like, this was so obvious who she is, but it's not obvious of
Like
what
why?
that means, of who's behind her. There's a Wizard of Oz.
There is.
Actually, Trevor, how can people read these comments?
Go to Marvel Unlimited. Like, literally, you should have bought it at the turn of the year because it come out to like $5 a month. You can get the whole year for $60 and unlimited access to every comic that Marvel's ever produced, pretty much for $5 a month. You'll get your use out of that.
There you
Like,
go.
how much you spend on Starbucks coffee? I don't know. More than probably $5 a month.
$10.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Anyways, let's go.
Okay, so be sure to follow at Secondary Heroes everywhere. We got a giveaway, we got pins, we got awesome talking about WandaVision, and also tell us what we should talk about next. Should we talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I don't know.
Let
Or
us
something
know.
else. Or please something else.
How much do you love Marvel? Let us know. To everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk next time.
Prog out.
Visioning away. Goodbye.